Hey, been a while. I have been making videos, I just haven't been getting around to post them. It's the problem with stream of consciousness stuff, you always second guess what it is you've said. Probably be better to start live streaming, really. Then I can't chicken out. So this is a response to the current narrative, and it's important to always remember that they are narratives, folks. We're not dealing with reality. Anyone who's read anything at all about how psyops work in the modern era, any of the recent, the NATO cognitive warfare document, they publish themselves. This is an internet conspiracy theory. So always be aware that there's a narrative. We live in a narrative world now. It's not post-truth. The truth is still there. It's just not being used. It's being ignored. Everyone's operating under preambles and pretexts, and everything's a Hegelian dialectic, like we've just seen in the States with this massive omnibus bill that once again illustrates how the legislation's always ready to drop just after the incident. So we should be watching what unfolds here. With a keen eye. And we should probably be scrambling to figure out what legislation's about to drop, although I suspect the big four bills that I tried to warn everybody about nearly 2 years ago gave them everything they need already. Identify and disrupt, and digital identity in particular. Basically, our government's given itself permission to run psyops on us, and the mainstream media is not really covering it here, but if you're aware of what the Twitter files contain, it does absolutely have ramifications for the rest of the world. I mean, the Queensland police spokesman just talked about COVID-19 conspiracy theories. Well, I mean, the Twitter files kind of exposed that they weren't theories, guys. Not at all. Prominent figures like Dr. Karen Phelps have finally joined the right side of the story, and it's now evident that people like Dr. McCullough and, of course, Mr. mRNA himself, Dr. Malone, were banned on the orders of the intelligence community. And if you know anything about the structure of the intelligence community, it's basically just the government interface between the weapons industry, which it includes pharma these days. It's now part of the military-industrial complex. It kind of always was. If you know the history of IG Farben, pharmaceuticals and the oil industry are one of the same. It's a petrochemical industry in the main. And so, yeah, that's what's really going on. As to the specific charge of anti-police conspiracy theories, we've watched over the last 2 years just about every policeman of good conscience quit the force because they were disgusted with what they were becoming. And all that seems to be left are the naive young recruits, like the poor people who've been caught in this incident, unworldly by design. I think we should go back to a minimum recruiting age of 26 for the police, and they need to have some sort of life experience, preferably completing an apprenticeship of some sort, or a turn in the military perhaps. This is what happens. Now, one, it's a dangerous job, kids. Don't sign up if you're not prepared. It is a little bit strange that police getting shot in the line of duty requires the nation to stop. Firemen die on the job all the fucking time. They don't quit with fire hot. You know what I'm saying? When you opt to become someone like a policeman and carry a badge, you're making a contract with the rest of us that you're going to be better than us. And that includes the sacrifice bit. And if you're not prepared for that, don't take the paycheck. As for these people being crazy, again, referencing the Twitter files. Two years of living under psyops and having our lives destroyed by the intelligence arm of the military-industrial complex would make anybody fucking crazy. All right? And if you unthinking thugs have become the enforcement arm of that against the civilian population that pays your fucking wages through our hard-earned taxes, myself not so much included these days, I've been a lazy fuck. Disenfranchised. Well, this is the result. You probably see more of it. This isn't any kind of threat, by the way. I'm not interested in tangling with you fucking morons. But you will see more of this shit if you continue to act like the fucking Gestapo. As James Lindsay was pointing out, the cycle is eternal. You get peacetime, then you get tyranny, then you get revolution, and then you get relative peace. But it's only relative peace. So the faster the cycle continues, the shorter the window of peace gets, and the more relative that peace gets. Compared to living under despotism or in the fury of a revolution, I guess anything looks like peace after a while. So we've got to slow things down. It means everybody needs to think about what it is they're being asked to do and what that means in the bigger picture. Because even some of us, it's definitely a professional hazard for those of us that tangle in the less mainline information sphere. It's full of garbage. It's full of traps. That's how you run snow jobs. Shit, the truth's getting out. Put out 15 versions. Most of them dead ends. Seen a lot of that over the last couple of years too. Not just the last 2-3 years. That's more like the last, since 2016. But, little flare-ups, 2008, 2010. Their goals aren't obvious, folks. They're trying to move the high water mark. They know when to retreat and when to bide their time and when to push. They know how to make use of useful idiots. They give them little batches. But even someone who'll pull off the billion and trillion dollar level scams for them, like young SBF's going to find out everybody's blown in the wind eventually. And what you think they've got you working towards is not their end goal. A brilliant horror movie called The Cube will kind of illustrate the point I'm making, although I'm sure you've heard similar analogies. He's working on a widget. He doesn't know if it's for a bridge or a bomb. It's called compartmentalization and plausible deniability. If you're old enough to remember Bush Sr., you'll remember this kind of dialogue flying around in the media at the time. It's the hallmarks of the intelligence community. It's a fucking dirty game. And we're all being forced to play it. So all this is just a little heads up. Because I watched an excellent interview with Mr. James Lindsay talking to Chrissy Mayer. And he said something I think should resonate with anyone who might watch this video and anyone sort of in the liberty-minded side of things. Violence is what they want. Violence is what they know how to control. They'd love an incident to drive a narrative. So the best thing we can do is actually call out their psyops, preferably before they drop. And so when people start to see the narrative being pushed, they'll already know what it is. And they might even, if we can all work together a bit on the open source intelligence angle, have some idea of what it is that they're really pushing for. If you watch that interview, you realize that there's more to all this than it seems. And but contained in it is a framework for you to sort of understand a lot of these things, including why it is, and James didn't talk about this, so I will. I don't know if he knows this. But he's put his finger on something in recent days that explains a lot of things. And I can tell you from my research, it connected a lot of dots. Things I've been studying for 20 years or more, all just kind of lined up behind this information. It makes a lot of sense. But once you understand that he's right, you'll understand that, and what I'm telling you is that explains why they always have to tell you how they're going to fuck you, so they can call it consent. And why they believe in the magic of contracts and all this stuff. And it all makes sense when you realize what it is that they are and what it is that they've been keeping secret. And it's very terrestrial, guys. There's no flat earth alien among us kind of shit to it. Although when the full history of it's known, it's on that scale of fantastic. But it's a very human story. So keep your eyes peeled, because psyops are running hot and deep and simultaneously. You know, you're living in probably at least 4 concurrent psyops on the daily. At the moment, war in Ukraine, what they're trying to make a national incident, 2 people with a traumatic past hold up after 2 years of crazy government totalitarianism finally did something stupid. Big conspiracy. Yeah, what else? Yeah, just basically be on the lookout for Alinsky, color-coded revolutions. And be aware that the powers that be always want to attack the unity of the lower classes and divide us into grievance groups so we fight each other instead of them. And that's ultimately what this is all really about. It's pretty straightforward. You know, if you're a useless twat with a lot of money, what do? You control everything through legislation and money. You get the big boys with guns to work for you. And that's how you get security. Everybody wants security. Everybody wants to pin down the variables. And everybody does it via their own worldview. So if you're the kind of people who are movers and shakers, you just try and move and shake things in your direction. It's so simple. You know? In fact, I contend that most, not all, of the fantastical elements of what is known by the normies as conspiracy theory is actually the government psyops, trying to muddy the waters. Things tend to be pretty straightforward if you follow the money and figure out who benefits. That's all. Merry Christmas. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.